Hello everybody. So I'm just gonna do a little video about this because um, it's something that I kind of got asked recently by someone, and so I wanted to do a little video about it. Artifact farming. As you all know, there's different levels of artifacts. There's the blue ones, which are, I believe, 3 stars. Purples are 4 stars, and then the golds are 5-star artifacts. Um, how each level performs is obviously pretty different. Um, I'm not even going to mention blue stars because, like, late game, you won't be using them at all. Um, but the 4 stars versus 5 stars. So 4 stars go to 16 uh, levels maximum, and the 5 stars go to 20. So the difference here is pretty clear. Something like a whole entire set of 5-star weapons, 5-star artifacts, can do a lot more, because you get that 4 extra levels and another boost to your stats down here. Um, but in terms of hunting, um, once you get to an AR that's high enough, you unlock the level 90 domain for the artifact. And you get one of these guaranteed 1 5-star when you run it. Now, in all the domains, there are 2 sets you can collect. There's usually damage of one kind, and then its opposite for resistance. Um, which one you get is completely random. You could honestly be hunting all day and can get one of the wrong kind, the one that you don't want. So artifact hunting is pretty hard and it's pretty resin intensive. So I wanted to talk about it for that reason, because you can spend a lot of resin and you can get very little results. And I'm just gonna use Diluc because he's new for me. I got him like about a week and a half ago, maybe a little longer than that. I don't remember exactly when, but I've been hunting for artifacts for him maybe in the last 2 or 3 days, just because I wish to make him usable at some point. But as you can see, like, I only have 2 stars, 2 5-star artifacts here, and even then I'm not really particularly happy with them. um, and there's several reasons for why that is. So why it's so difficult. Um, Artifacts, they come with a set standard when it comes to certain things. So let me illustrate this. By all flowers, always HP based. There will never be a flower that doesn't have a main stat as HP. What matters after that are the substats here. And to get the perfect artifact, it's damn near impossible. Don't even try. It's too, like, you would need like months worth of resin before you got like one with exactly the correct substats for your character. So prioritize is what I would say. You know that the flower is going to always have HP, so that's always going to be your main stat. What depends on here, like for example, I put this artifact on Chi Chi because Chi Chi's attack based. She heals off of her attack. So a 10%, well, this wasn't 10% at the time, but like an attack percent stat on her is pretty damn great. Crit rate also pretty good. Energy recharge on Chi Chi. Her ults and her E's don't come back that quickly, so yeah, that helps. One useless stat, not a big deal. Um, and even then, like, there's no such thing as a useless stat. I shouldn't say that, but one stat that doesn't necessarily give the best outcome is okay, because if you keep rolling and rolling and rolling and doing the domain over and over again, like, you'll be at it for months and you won't end up necessarily with the best stats still, because stats themselves also have a min and max range, right? So like you could end up with a like 4 different stats all on the low side, and it's still not the perfect, like, artifact. So don't waste your time trying to get the most perfect artifact. If you get one with a main stat that's really good, uh, and then if you get like one or two substats that are like in your wheelhouse, I would say roll with it because otherwise you'll be there forever trying for the perfect one. And then you can start upgrading it to level 4. Oh, what stat got upgraded? Level 8. What stat got upgraded? And then from then on you'll have a good idea. Do I continue all the way to level 20 with this artifact, or do I scrap and try for something else? But most of the time, if you just end up with one main stat, that's your main stat is good, and two substats are good, or even three, like three is a blessing. Um, but if you end up with that many substats that are good, you're probably going to carry this artifact all the way to level 20 because it's just too hard. Unless by like the extreme luck of the RNG gods, you get something like really amazing, but it doesn't happen too often. Uh, and plumes, so the feathers are always going to be attack main substat. You're never going to see anything else. Um, and yeah, so like the substats here are again are going to just, as long as one or two of them are great, like Mona's feather, crit rate percent, attack percent, elemental mastery for her is also really good. HP was the only was the only substat that I didn't really love, but like hey, HP is HP, and again it's not useless. It does increase her survivability, so like you gotta move on with it at some point, right? And again, childs. Why did I go with this one? Well, there was a crit rate, elemental mastery, and the other two stats I didn't really care for, but I went with it because I wasn't gonna sit there for the next month trying to like roll for the most perfect artifact. It's just way too hard. I mean, when you when you only get so much resin in a day, and you have ley lines to do, bosses to do, uh, and trounce domains to do. You're not gonna sit there and roll for stat after stat on an artifact because there you could end up with one of 10, right? There's one, two, three, four, five, and there's two types per domain, right? So you end up with 1 out of 10 gold ones, and are you gonna use it? The likelihood is probably not. It's a little easier, obviously, when it comes to some of the other artifacts like conductors or gladiators because you get those um, at high enough AR ranks when you're doing bosses too. But even then, like they end up with some really random stats like defense, healing bonus. Like who's gonna want a healing bonus helmet? Potentially a healer, but like that's a really specific use. Are you gonna put a healing bonus helmet on Diluc, for example? Probably not. Um, so it can be really varied. Uh, like example Lava Walker, like that's the opposite set of Deluxe, and I ended up with two crowns that I definitely do not want or will not use. um and and there's a lot more to this, like uh so brooches are locked, feathers are locked, but these guys, these three over here, are all random, right? You can end up with, for example, gladiators is the easiest one to show because I get so many of them. I have attack percent, I have energy recharge, defense, elemental mastery, HP. The list goes on and on. Uh, for some that are actually insets, you can end up with some really varied stuff. Goblets get even weirder because, um, I mean, just to showcase what I'm talking about here, electro damage bonus on a pyro set, like it can get really really weird. Um, and the again, you can have all sorts of stats: attack percent, defense, animal damage bonus, hydro damage bonus. Like it gets really weird. So to sit there For these three especially, and try to roll after roll after roll, it's never gonna happen for you. Once you get, especially for Goblet, like Goblet mental note here for anyone who's like paying attention, um, if you can get the correct bonus to show up, because goblets you always kind of want uh, the correct elemental bonus on. So for Diluc, for example, I obviously want Pyro, not Electro. Like this one is useless to me. But if I get the Pyro damage bonus to show up here, and I honestly don't care what's down here. It's a blessing if it's like one or two correct stats. Um, but so long as I get this to show up, great. I'll roll with it because to try like and get over and over and over again to run the domain and try to get the correct one to show up is already painful. As you can see, I got like an Electro one. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? And I've had similar instances like Hydro damage bonus on a Thunder Fury. What the heck am I supposed to do with that again? So like it's definitely not been the only instance of this, and it's going to keep happening. I want to like say. Um, Physical damage bonus again on Frost. This could have some uses. It's not completely useless, but this one is Hydro damage bonus on Blizzard. I equipped it to Eula for now because I don't know what else to do with it. I should probably switch to this one, but again, I'm not going to like I haven't added, as you can see, any levels to this because it's completely useless. It's just a placeholder for now. Um, but yeah, you can get really crazy stuff. So focus on the main stats is the takeaway, number one. And number two, if you get some really like one or two substats, great. I would say upgrade to level 4, upgrade to level 8, see where you're at. If you really like what got upgraded, move on and just take it to level 20. If you didn't, and you have something that's similar, you can try to upgrade that too, and compare at that point. And if one is better than the other, just stick with it and move on, because to try and roll and roll and roll, it's not going to work out for you. Like, you're just going to keep doing it forevermore and wasting your resin when you could be using your resin to much more important things like, talent books, running bosses to upgrade other characters. um, there's just so much you could do with resin that to be wasting it all on artifacts, when you have like a semi decent one, it's not the best one, it's just decent, then it's too much waste. You could definitely be doing much better things with with resin rather than hunting for the best, most perfect artifact. Um, yeah, so that's all I got to say on that. I will note one thing though, um, and just to go back and illustrate, I think here it is. So when you get a 5-star artifact, oftentimes it'll either have 3 or 4. So when it has 4, at level 4, one of them gets upgraded automatically. So you'll have an upgrade at 4, upgrade at level 8, upgrade at level 12, I'll upgrade at 16, and another upgrade at 20. So that's all the upgrades that happen there. But because you have artifacts that are 5-star with 3 instead of 4 substats, at level 4 you actually get a reveal instead of an upgrade. So you're miss out on one upgrade is what I'm trying to say. Um, Now that being said, if you end up getting a 3 substat artifact instead of a 4, is it a big deal? I would say no. I mean, one extra upgrade on a 4 versus 3 isn't a big deal, especially if those 3 happen to be like decent. Um, in this case, if it hadn't been electro damage bonus, as I said earlier, that's useless on this. But if it had been, let's say, a pyro damage bonus and it had crit rate, energy recharge, and an HP all percentage based, um, that's amazing. I would totally have rolled with it and moved it on to level 20 despite the fact that it only has 3 because they're all percentage based. Keep in mind, like stats, substats especially is what I'm trying to say. Substats especially can be both percentage and flat out bonus. Um, so, it's definitely better when it's percentage based because, your character's base percent is going to be a lot higher than whatever flat upgrade this is. And to illustrate my point, like the one right next to it, a 19, flat attack versus a 4, like, sorry, that's not, let me try and find one. Right here, yeah, so, a 4.7% versus a flat 19, obviously one is greater than the other, especially when you have an attribute of 1216, right? um, One is definitely going to be more than the other, and keep in mind that percent, it stacks, I'm pretty sure, with whatever artifacts you equip. So just keep that in mind, especially when you're rolling for artifacts. Don't go crazy. If you get one with one good main stat, two substats, move it forward and don't keep trying your luck because otherwise you'll just be there for months at a time trying for the best artifact possible when it's really hard and really like next to impossible, I want to say. So that's all for this video. If you've got any questions, just feel free to comment. um, yeah, thanks for watching.